colors of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one, only one. I was an ordinary boy until I broke the rules. My life destroyed, life destroyed. Until I woke awake, scream my mind, I shout, the ground shakes. How much can I take? My mind will break. Will it break? Can I take? Can I be your superhero? Superhero. Can I be your superhero? Superhero. 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 Away. It's the first time of today. Today. To dream, believe. You are the strength, you're all I need. Need. Oh, gonna give it a shot. Only one of me to shield you all from the enemy. You're a superhero. You're a superhero.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost in trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Hello everybody and welcome into PGR eSports live tonight from the high banks of Atlanta Motor Speedway. We got another good one in store for you, and joining me tonight, special guest development broadcaster Matt Mettler. Matt, how you feeling here tonight?
Terrific. So fired up to finally be here tonight as it goes down in prime time here at the hot ATL. That track temperature is certainly reflecting that, a scorching 130 degrees. And if that's not good enough for you, throw in 40 of iRacing's best as they duke it out tonight in prime time. Strap in. It's about to get rowdy. I'm fired up and ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a good one here tonight. So before we get any further into it, let's get things kicked off with your starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be the Canadian driver and the 2024 Podium 500 champion, Kyler Wynn. He puts down a 31.158. Matt Lee for Nightmare Esports will roll off to his outside in second. It's going to be John Ellis Jr. back in third with Ethan Eckert in fourth. Then you've got Chris Walker alongside the Coke Series driver of Malik Ray. Those two will make up row number 3. Dylan Basin back in seventh with Cody Nagels in eighth. Kevin Fries in ninth. And Garrett Maines, another one of the Coke Series drivers here tonight. He rounds out your top 10.
The 78 machine of J.R. Miller will start in P11, while outside him in the 5 ride is going to be Matthew Baker in 12th. 13th belongs to the 24 of Joe Hira. Running out your top 14 is going to be the 81 of Brandon Matz. Starting 15th, that's going to be Trevor in the 89 ride. I'm going to butcher his last name. I apologize, so I'm going to skip over that. Rolling off in 16th is going to be the 74 of Brian Hennings, while outside of him, starting 17th, the 77 of Steven Scott. 18th tonight, the 318 of Dalton J. Martin. 19th belongs to David Flanagan, and rounding out your top 20, the 06 of David Sheets.
Jared Haynes starts 21st, Jonathan Herbert in 22nd, Landon Veliky, Tucker McClendon back in row number 12, Ryan Bass, Dylan Jones in row 13, Mark Vondell, Chase Mistretta, row 14, Sedarius Percy and Larry McDonald rounding out your top 30. Austin B. Floyd, Andrew Navarro 31st and 32nd, Nash Brambilla 33rd, Mike Davenport 34th. Then you've got Jeff Merck 35th, Joshua McCullough 36th, John Mullahan in 37th, Christopher Carter 38th, and Ken McCullough Jr. 39th, with Daniel Eberhardt rounding out the field. He starts in 40th. Quick look through your race info. 90 laps the distance here tonight. 80% fuel, only 2 sets of tires, no fast repair, fixed setups, and then again that 132-degree track temp that Matt mentioned just before we got the, or excuse me, I guess I should say at the tip of the broadcast. All right, well, here we go. We've been waiting for it, and the time is now. Pace car makes the left turn for the first time here tonight. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Atlanta.
John Forcifer at the start-finish line as we got lap 1 written in the history books as these V8s are now ripping through the nighttime, roaring to life here at Atlanta. It's still 2x2, side-by-side, all-out warfare here at the front of this thing. Kyler Wynn going up against Matt Lee in the 04 machine.
And the big thing that we expected here tonight and what we heard from some of the drivers pre-race was a lot of separation early. This hot track temp, and you're going to have to manage tires. Matt Lee right now seems like the only driver brave enough to continue his venture on that outside line. Not going to last for long, though, as he'll slot in behind the 7 on Malik Ray. Kyler Wynn has led them all so far, as we have now got 3 officially in the books as they dive down into turn 1. The single file action goes all the way back to the 1 of Joe Herta. Then a little 2x2 as it looks like Dylan Basin maybe think about trying to make his way to the front.
Basin is racing towards the front as he has already gained a couple positions in this one. That 33 machine now going up against Fries. Side by side, door to door here is Kyler winning that 82. Now taking a peek here on the outside. Or excuse me, that's the 81 of Brandon going around on the top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. He's going to take his way to the front. First time he's carried the torch here at Atlanta.
Brandon Matz looking really fast early. That was a bold move, and look at this. He's actually making a little bit of gap between himself and the 82 of Kyler Wynn. We'll see how long that lasts. And if you remember, we've been in these cars at this track before, and we know that you're plenty capable of doing a lot of pushing here. Again, we're going to see 2x2, I think, at some point in the corners, but just when the track temp is this hot, and I mean, we've seen it at tracks like Daytona and Talladega that are a lot bigger and potentially even a lot faster, if you will, than this track. So, you know, you can still go flat out here, but I think early on, this is going to kind of continue to be the trend of everybody just easing into the corner, trying to save those tires. But, I mean, if right now this was 5 laps to go instead of only 5 laps in, it certainly could be a different story. As further back now, we're starting to get 2x2 formed up again. That was Cody Nagels, who's taking a look to the outside. Meanwhile, further up, they still stay on the bottom. Oh, we got one on the apron. That's Matthew Baker. He's trying to hold on to it. He saves it. What a save from Baker.
Baker goes X-Game style with a big-time save on the bottom of the racetrack. He's able to get that car pointed back in the right direction, keeps his foot in it. What a job of the driver of the 5 as we go on board now. You see him ripping the bottom of the racetrack. That's the preferred line. But as you mentioned, these tires, they're going to be a big factor in this race. In fact, you guys at home that missed the old Atlanta, it was a cheese grater on these Goodyears. And tonight we just may have the right recipe with all of this blistering heat that's going to wear these tires out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Look for these cars to become a handful here within probably the next 10 to 15 laps, as we're currently now working lap 7 out of the scheduled 90 here from ATL.
Logan York says in the chat, he's predicting a caution by lap 25, and I certainly wouldn't necessarily disagree with that with some of the close calls that we've had already, but some of the big names that are making a return here tonight, first one that comes to mind is that 25 car of Kevin Freeze. See, right now he's on the inside of Dalton Martin. Remember, him and Ian Martin made a return last time that we had PGR, and man, that was just over a week ago. Again, we didn't have a race last week, and in the past race that we did have, we saw John Ellis Jr. make his return to victory lane in the Intimidator Superspeedway Series. He currently sits in 6th as he runs to the inside. There goes the 318. Boy, he is making up a lot of ground. Wonder, Matt, if this is maybe the 318 trying to push the pace, or has he just saved that much more tire than everybody else?
The 318 has lit the afterburner in that machine and has gone supersonic. I don't think he's saving. I think he just wants to get to the front. It's all about strategy here, and to avoid the big one, you got 2 options. Be at the very front of this thing or go to the back, and sometimes it's a toss-up 50-50, but clearly, with the amount of aggression right now out of that 318 machine being piloted by Martin, clearly he thinks the best place for that vehicle he's piloting right now is at the front of this field as he continues to march towards the front. However, the 81 of Brandon Matt's doing a great job. In fact, he has gapped that second place vehicle of Ray by about a car length and a half at times, as we now go on board looking out the back of the 81.
Yeah, and right now for Malik Ray, I don't think he's too worried about getting up there. He knows that the 81 can't run away from the draft, so he'll still keep him in range. Now, it's interesting when we look further back on the blimp view there just about a lap ago, you notice that really pretty much the entire field just about is still within this lead pack. Now, I said pretty much the entire field. You can see from about 36th on back, we do have a couple of stragglers, and one car being Tucker McClendon, the recent Little Dog Series champion, and he will be the first to potentially go lap down as well. That is major damage on the front end of that race car. I am not sure where in the world he got that, but this might give us a clue here. Look at the back of the 59 of Mark Vondel. And I'll tell you what, I think this might be something that happened back on, I thought it was going to be the restart, but that doesn't look like the case here. Watch Tucker McClendon. We're not sure the exact lap this happened, but oh man, he just gets loose. He's trying to hold on. Looks like he's okay here, and then He's going to loop it around, and oh man, just gets clipped in the front. That's what takes off his rear bumper. So that was a separate incident from Mark Vondel, who you saw went around just ahead of the 00. Boy, I'm surprised this did not draw a caution, but for Vondel, he just gets loose, comes across the nose of Chase Mastretta, and backs that Chevy Camaro into the inside safer barrier. But again, that did not draw a caution, so that would explain the troubles early for Mark Vondel and Tucker McClendon.
Yeah, he got used and abused and then dumped point blank in broad daylight like a redheaded stepchild. And he needs massive facial reconstructive surgery performed on the front of that race car. Certainly not what you need here to go fast, is he's going to have to start the digging out of the hole here early. Very unfortunate, but the good news is we're only 12 laps into this 90-lap event. Anything can happen as we now go back up towards the front here. Starting to get a little dicey here, or racy, I should say, inside the top 10. Matthew Baker now up 3 spots from where he started. As we go back up to the point, there's that 00 machine that's heavily damaged and out in front who continues to lead here at Atlanta. Brandon doing his things, leading here in that 81. Now has the 318 machine of Dalton J. Martin starting to close in, challenge for that position. Remember, he was the guy on the high side of the racetrack that was absolutely booking it. He has now caught the leader, but as you all know, catching him is one thing, passing him is another.
And, you know, I'm sitting here looking, and boy, this is something that we just don't see much when we get a chance to broadcast these super speedway races. The top two have almost created a second gap from the third place car, Malik Ray. Now, again, I'm still going to stick with how long that'll last. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think they're still within drafting range and they'll stay close, but I just cannot get over how much of play the track temp has had in this race so far. I mean, it has really determined how careful some of these guys that we're used to seeing try to dominate races have had to be. And I mean, I know it's early, but you know, we look at 80% fuel in these cars. If I had to guess, maybe somewhere between 40 and 50 laps, somewhere in there would be the general fuel window. We'll see if we can get more on that as we get closer. But with that being the case, maybe they're waiting until we get, I don't know, halfway through this first run before they start to really push the issue. And another part of it, I'll tell you what, is we don't have that fast pair here tonight. So if you get in a wreck, even if you're Tucker McClendon or Mark Vondel, that early damage, 90 laps is a long way to go with that damage. So I think that's another reason that we're seeing everybody stay conservative early. And as we look back up front, looks like joining us in the booth now, Dawson Wise has made an appearance. Dawson, how you feeling here tonight?
I'm doing well, Austin. I love Atlanta. It's my home track, one of my home tracks, so I love it. And I was kind of hearing you guys talk about this very unique, interesting race we got going on right now. And I was saying the same thing. Looks like the old Atlanta's made a bit of a return here tonight.
That's exactly what I was saying moments ago here on the broadcast. And, you know, this is the great equalizer, right? Hey, if you're a big fan of old Atlanta, well, here you go tonight. How do you fix that? You jack the track temp up through the stratosphere, and you can see just how ginger and cautious these drivers are being out there on the racetrack. You don't see that racked and stacked, you know, aggression out there. There's plenty of spacing. These guys trying to be very cautious and courteous and trying to get an understanding of just how these Dr. Feelgoods are going to behave over the course of this run tonight. And remember what Austin said, only 2 sets of tires in the pits. So these drivers are going to have to get every ounce of performance out of those tires tonight if they want to survive and be alive at the end when it counts.
And look who's starting to pick up the pace a little bit now. It's the 60, the Nightmare eSports driver, NBG driver rather, of Jeff Merck. He's trying to get something going right now on that outside line as he looks for a pass here on Malik Ray. And I was kind of wondering here if Malik would maybe help him out a little bit, give him that spot, see if they could push up to the 2 leaders. And it looks like they have started to slowly close that gap as Jeff will get clear by the time they work into turn 3. But while we have the chance here, as things are relatively single file, I want to work through the field here just a little bit and talk about some of the names that come to mind here tonight. First off, Joe Herta, the Xfinity car. Boy, what about the job he did on Tuesday night, grabbing his first Tuesday Night Thunder win, and it was a 1-2 finish for the Jack Shack. You know, they're going to be looking to build off that momentum here tonight. Garrett Maines, Kyla Wynn, 2 of the best super speedway drivers that we have in the series. You know, they're going to be a threat here tonight. And then you can't forget about Ethan Eckert. He currently sits in 8th. He's down 4 from where he started, but he does have a PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series win. He knows how to make it happen, and I think the biggest story so far here tonight has got to be D3, Daniel Eberhard. He has picked up 30 positions from where he started this race at. 30 positions at a race where really it seems like everybody else has been struggling just to maintain track position.
If that's not the most Intimidator-type move out there thus far on the racetrack, I can't say anything else about the performance of the 90. He started in the next county, and he's already up 30 spots. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just wanted to get that out before. I didn't have the opportunity to.
No, absolutely no worries. Oh, man, Brandon Matt's way out of the groove, the 81. I think those tires have started to really go away for he and Dalton Martin. They ran them just a little bit too hard. And I was going to mention earlier before he went through the field, Austin, this kind of feels like the Bristol Spring Race back in March where, you know, the tires went away in 30 laps and the guys had to kind of baby them. You had to decide when you wanted to go. You saw guys, okay, they drive right to the lead, then they fade, then they drive back to the lead, then they fade. That's kind of what this reminds me of. And, of course, the guys at the front are the guys you'd expect, the pros, the experienced drivers. One driver I'm surprised to not see up here is Andrew Navarro, a guy with a ton of experience in this car, but Maines and Ray, the pros. Kyler Wynn, very much experienced. And Jeff Merck loves this car and is really, really good at this type of racing, but he's going to get turned.
Oh, that's a massive hit for the 60. Huge front. Oh, we got one almost. Man.
We go up and over X Games style. We got a hot dumpster fire, and the track is completely just about clogged as multiple cars involved here as the big one cooks off here at Atlanta early.
Man, did you see that hit for Joe Herta and Jeff Merck? Wow, that was a huge impact. The one car, I mean, this thing's junk. He's going to have to take it back to the pits. He's got no rear bumper cover, no deck lid. Front end's completely ripped off. And for Jeff Merck, I don't even know if he made it back to the pits. He did, but it was on a tow truck. Man, that was a big-time wreck. Just as I felt like maybe things were starting to calm down and maybe they were starting to get into a rhythm. I don't know what happened here. So let's go back and see if we can take a look. We're going to first go to the chopper view. In fact, yeah, we'll go to the chopper view first here. Jeff Merck, who had got himself up to second place here. You see he's run on the outside. He goes to drop low, and then, ooh, yikes. Looks like Garrett's trying to kind of push him here. And does Garrett hit him right as he goes to drop down? I think he does. You see Jeff, just as Jeff goes to drop down, Jeff doesn't really go all the way down, and I'm not sure if maybe Garrett was expecting him to drop down a little bit more, or in Jeff's case, if he was thinking about going back up, but man, you can see it just did not work out too well for either of those two right there.
Now, he took it in the business end at the worst possible time on the racetrack. Once that fuse gets lit, the bomb goes off, and then look at all of these cars piling in, one after another after another. It's like something out of Days of Thunder. You can't script this type of carnage out there on the racetrack, and it takes one tiny move that goes wrong at the front of the field that creates mass casualties out there on the racetrack, as we have multiple cars that sustained incredible damage. This is going to have a big shakeup on the competition as we're now under yellow flag conditions here in Atlanta.
Oh, man. I mean, some big names involved in this, too. And, you know, I came in a little bit late. I don't know the status of a fast repair tonight, but there's several guys out of the race. There's not one. Jeff Merck, Joe Huerta, Garrett Maines got a bunch of damage in this, as did Andrew Navarro. I mean, this is a bunch of our big hitters that we talk about on a weekly basis, and their nights are over all of a sudden here on early. I mean, inside of lap 25. We got 90 laps on the board, and I mean, that's 4 or 5 of the guys I would have considered favorites that are heavily involved in this one. Behind the 8 ball, and with only 2 sets of tires to work with as well. Man, tough start to the night for those guys.
And I wonder, you know, it's just one of those things. And yeah, by the way, Dawson, the answer is no fast repair here tonight. So certainly going to end a lot of nights early. But even with some of these drivers that piled in late, I almost wonder, you know, we know that when we watch the 87s at super speedways, how hard those are to get on the brakes, to get slowed down. And I think the case here tonight is with that hot track temp, almost might feel like they're driving 87s with how slick they are. And you can't just slam on the brakes, right? You got to slowly kind of ease into them, make sure that the tires are still gripping, and then slowly try to apply a little bit more pressure. And, you know, I think for some of these guys, maybe they either initially slammed on the brakes, started sliding and had to bail out of it, or maybe just kind of got into that four-wheel slide by getting on the brakes and tires broke loose. But man, for Joe Herta and the Jack Shack, you know, we just talked about him, and I hate to say I gave him the announcer's jinx, but I feel like I might have after just talking about the win he got on Tuesday. So certainly apologize for that, Joe, but we're going to get ready to go back green here. Is back up front. We've got Malik Ray leading. Kyler Wynn on the outside. Looks like Ethan Eckert is now up to 3rd, Nagels in 4th, Jared Haynes in 5th, and then Dalton Martin back in 6th, Kevin Fries in 7th, Daniel Eberhardt in 8th, David Sheets 9th, and John Ellis Jr., last race's winner. He is rounding out the top 10.
Racked and stacked 2 by 2. Shuffle the deck, and we're going to get ready to let these boys rip one more time. Coming off the first caution for incident of the evening, and it was a big-time moment out there on the racetrack. And as you just heard moments ago, big-time names, favorites, the powerhouse drivers out of this one early, and that's why we call this type of racing the great equalizer, because if you put a car on the racetrack, you have an opportunity to win. As that iRacing.com pace car pulls off. Get ready to go back. Green flag racing here in Atlanta. Approach the Geico restart zone. Ray's going to have the button. Green flag back in the air. He's going to send it through the floorboards. And here we go one more time from Atlanta as we come roaring back to life into the turns 1 and 2 complex.
All right, now the question for these leaders. I know, Austin, we talked about it back on Tuesday when they wrecked early. Are they going to calm down? The answer was no in that race. Will the answer be yes in this race? I'm not too sure. Off to a pretty quick start, but everybody singles out. This is kind of what we saw earlier. They're going to do it once again because now there's some guys up front that weren't before. Who's on the attack, though? Look further back. D3, Daniel Eberhardt, and he's coming in a hurry, already almost inside the top 5. The 90 is flying right now at the start-finish line.
Yeah, well, remember, he made up 30 positions on the last restart, so what's 5 more here for the 90 as he continues to work his way to the front? Now, I'll tell you what, Dawson, I don't know, that wreck at the front kind of felt like, I don't know if I want to call it a fluke, but it certainly felt like an anomaly there with, it looked like everybody was well in control of the cars, just a little bit of a mistake, a small one that led to a big accident, of course, but I think that we're going to see the aggression level still stay pretty high because track position here matters even more than it does at a track like Daytona or Talladega, so I think everybody's still going to try to keep their car up front, and if they're at the back, I think even now you got to start slowly but surely trying to work to the front because if we don't get a caution, that pit stop, if you're not near the leaders, it's going to be a whole lot easier to lose touch with the draft, especially with the separation that we started to see there as we got into the middle portions and latter portions of the run. But we're going to be hitting lap 30 here in just a few laps, and I'm looking for this next pit stop, or rather I guess I should say fuel run, to take them all the way to maybe right around lap, maybe lap 60 or somewhere in the ballpark, before they have to make a stop for fuel. So I think that maybe that first caution allowed this to become a one-stop race, but besides that, don't think it changed anything in terms of the aggression level as Malik Ray continues to lead up front.
Ray doing a great job holding off these hard-charging drivers here at Atlanta as we're ripping the bottom single file for about the first 5 or 6 cars in line. Then we go 2 by 2, Noah's Ark situation. Wind continues to close in onto the back of Ray. As we kind of migrate back just a little bit in the field, come back up to the front there. You see that 82 machine just working off the back of the 7. Really looking for some help there in the form of a push, and there he goes. He's going to get some help now from Daniel in the 90. He is closing in on the back of that Camaro, quick, fast, and in a hurry. In fact, he is there in the corner. A little further back, up 14 positions. You got Hayes working the high side of the racetrack, trying to find some additional momentum up there. As we go on board the GoPro nose camera, you can see him working there as he bump drafts with the 7. In fact, that was almost a bump gone wrong. That's the worst spot you can hit a car going into the corner. In fact, that was the recipe that set off that masterful incident we had just moments ago. Thank God we didn't have it happen again.
Well, it's very interesting now. It kind of reminds me of the Atlanta race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series here in February where the leader kind of set the pace. It felt like whatever the pace of the race was going to be was set by that first car. Malik Ray's kind of doing that right now. You notice nobody stepping out other than Jared Haynes further back. He's got a couple in his convoy right now, but other than that, Malik Ray is setting the pace of this race right now, and it is not terribly fast. Now, let's reference lap times. I know we don't usually reference lap times at a track like Atlanta when we're super speedway racing, but we'll do so anyway. Malik's best lap of the night, 32.65. Last lap by for Malik Ray, 33.18. They are saving tires in a big way. Half a second difference under green. And by the way, they just pit 10 laps ago. So these guys definitely saving tires, but you can see the aggression picking up just a little bit. Jared Haynes, Dylan Jones, Dalton Martin again, a couple cars further back that just don't want to sit and ride. They want to go to the front. John Mullahan steps out of line about 8 cars deep, and he's going to start to work his way to the front in that white, pink, and black 2 car. He's got John Ellis. That's quite a duo up on the outside line right now.
Certainly is. Track temp still scorching, by the way, at 134 degrees. That will not change for the remainder of this race. All right, well, they start to calm down up front. Let's go back to the field here and check on some of the drivers that were involved in that first accident. Jeff Merck, Ryan Bass, Steven Scott Jr., who's actually just now working his way out of the pits. Joe Herta, Nash Brambilla, they are currently all considered retired from this race. But as we just saw, Steven Scott Jr. is going to try to make it back onto the racetrack. Brandon Matz, he finds himself right now in 34, still with some damage after leading quite a bit of this race, at least in the early portions of it. Then you got Cedarius Percy, who currently sits back in that 33rd position. And right now for the 48, he is, well, remember, actually, I think that was one of the drivers that was involved in that accident earlier with Tucker McClendon close to the start of this race. But you can see based off where he runs, he's going to need a caution, as is Larry McDonald, who sits in 32nd. Austin B. Floyd, it's good to see him in the field here tonight. He currently sits in 31st. You can see the rear bumper of that car ripped off as well. Jonathan Herbert, he currently sits in 30th. Christopher Carter in 29th. Tuck McClendon, 28th. Guess that caution worked out well for him because he was able to at least get that front bumper taped back on, but still has a lot more damage that needs to be fixed. And then one of the favorites, Garrett Maines, in 27. Still heavy damage on that race car as it continues to try to pace around this track. Mark Vondell, 26th. And for 25th on up, we're going to take it over to Matt Mettler. Oh, trouble up front.
We got a smoke show out there on the racetrack, but I'm not seeing any carnage or any sign of the yellow flag as we stay green. If we were rack stacked and packed on top of each other, perhaps the 48 off the pace here. In fact, we're going to go back here. Take a look. Oh, yeah, the 48 gets loose, does the slide for life on the top shelf of the racetrack where Mama hides the cookies. He's going to take it down to the apron, mash the brake pedal, and keep it off of the inside retaining wall. Masterful job there by the driver of the 48. His purse was already pulverized once earlier in this race. Almost a disastrous outcome once again. But great driving kept that 48 machine out of the safer barrier. As we go back live now up towards the front of this piece in that 24th place position, Mike Davenport already is up 10 positions here early. In fact, we had another one around now. You can see these tires are just not surviving out there on the racetrack. That right rear is starting to give up. There is the 87 machine, I believe. That's going to be Jonathan Herbert, who just lost it on the, on the high side of the racetrack. Luckily, no other cars out there around in the vicinity. Was able to get it pointed straight and on our way. Oh, I take that back. Oftentimes you watch the replay, it tells a different story. That went off, cooked off in front of him. And he's an innocent bystander there, getting caught in someone else's mess out there on the racetrack. But like I said earlier, we stay green as we send it back up to the point now. Mika Ray continues to lead here, up 5 positions from where he started. In Austin, there he is, just able to hold that, 1 to 2 car length advantage at times out here over the competition. I mean, that tells me that car is driving and handling really good right now, just like you would need at the old Atlanta.
Yeah, it certainly is, but I'm trying to figure out how we didn't get a caution from either of those 2 incidents, especially that one that we just looked back at with the 87 of Jonathan Herbert. And yeah, you said it, just he got collected in an incident that took place just in front of where he was, and you saw he just barely got clipped going down the back by Mark Vondell, who was already kind of spun around from a separate incident that, like I said, happened in front of him. But I mean, man, both of those cars did slide back up on the racing surface, so definitely really surprised to see it not bring out a caution. But Dawson, I think at the end of the day, it was for the best because the racing up front right now, it's intense, it's clean, and we're 40 of 90 laps in and only 1 caution so far to date.
Yeah, now it's starting to get a little bit more competitive as well. John Mullihan just drove from 5th to 2nd. Andrew Navarro has driven from about 15th to 3rd. Make that P2. What did I say earlier? Andrew Navarro, very experienced in this car. Obviously has been on the road to pro scene for a couple of years now, and now drives to the lead. He picked his spot, and he's doing well so far. He's going to drive all the way to position number 2. And who's with him? You guessed it, D3. Daniel Eberhardt again on the attack. He may go on the attack on Navarro here in the 1, but Navarro's going to go on the attack on Ray for the lead. First battle for the lead in a minute. Oh, but look at that. Did you push the tires a little bit too hard there? I think the 44 might have found a little bit of limit. Malik Ray's having some connection issues, I believe, right now.
He is too, and man, for that 7 car right now, he's out in front, so he's okay, but if he starts to get in the middle of a group, that's when guys start to get a little bit more nervous. But by the way, I do want to stop at a couple more of the drivers that we have carrying onboard cameras for us here tonight. Trevor Ozanoff, one of the Jack Shack drivers in the 89, he currently sits in 24th, and looks pretty calm, all things considered right now, just cruising around, waiting to see if we're going to get another caution, as he might need one with where he currently runs on the track. Yeah, you see he has lost touch with the leaders.
Navarro's in the wall, about halfway back in the lead pack. Couple cars in the wall.
And looks like they're all going to save it. Oh, man, Mark Vondel, that's the car that got into the wall. Navarro had to really slam on the brakes. But he was able to. He sneaks by. We keep it green, but, man, that's a rough break for Navarro, Dawson. Oh, now we got more trouble here potentially further back. Austin B. Floyd, he's gone around now on the backstretch. And, boy, the troubles just continue here with 43 laps complete.
I'm telling you, it's the wear and tear. It's the abuse on those Dr. Feelgoods. They become Dr. Feelbads, and it's like an ice skating rink out there on the racetrack, and these drivers just aren't able to, they don't have the grip, the maneuverability like they're used to, accustomed to having on a typical plate race. I think, Austin, you got it right earlier in the broadcast. You have to approach this race like the old Atlanta, and I think that may be the winning formula or the winning protocol to have, in that race car to get the job done here tonight. Is Daniel C. Jones now up 22 positions suddenly into the top 5 in that 4th place position. Continues to intensify here at the front. Oh, we got a car in the wall, scraping the wall on the high side.
Oh, right for the leaders. Malik Ray's around into the inside wall.
Oh, man, I still don't see him. Did he blink out?
I still don't see it either.
Oh, man.
I have him on my end, and Siderius Purse came off the wall and
no, he's still
forced,
here. He's still here.
He forced a 90 into the 7 car.
Oh, man. To go back and see if we can get a replay of that. I do see damage. Oh, yeah, heavy damage on the left side for the 7. Yeah, you're right. He hit something here. Presumably that inside wall. Yeah, you're right, Dawson. But, man, how did he still keep it up here with the leaders? Let's watch this here. And I was just getting ready to say next time we came around that it seems like the lappers are starting to become slightly...
more trouble. They're going to wreck on the backstretch. Caution flag's going to come out. It's back around Justin Mills. He was the first car I saw get around Chase Mistretta as well in the 8 for Nightmare Esports.
Yeah, Chase Mistretta, we just saw he's going to finally come to a... Yeah, he's going to slide to a stop as, yeah, you said it. They're still wrecking out in front a little bit here. Looks like they'll get it back together. Chase Mistretta, he's going to be able to roll off from this one. Not sure how bad the damage is yet for the 8. Definitely that right side scraped up pretty bad. Well... Man, that almost felt like a kind of a ticking time bomb. It was just a matter of time there before we had the caution after all the incidents we kept having around the track. It just never actually unfolded here. So let's first here go back and take a look at this incident involving Malik Ray, because this had pretty significant implications for the 7 car. And then we'll go back and look at this incident that actually ultimately brought out the caution. So for Malik Ray, this all kind of transpires on the backstretch about a lap or 2 before the caution, and Malik's running in front here. And you see the lapper blinking around a little bit. That's the 48, Siderius Percy, I believe. And then he starts to come down. Malik sees it, so Malik's got to make that evasive maneuver. And as he's turning left, Eberhardt just barely taps him in the bumper. But with how kind of on edge these cars are here, even on the straightaways, you can see how tough that is. And then, man, that's a pretty rough tank slapper into the safer barrier for Malik Ray. He bounces off. He was able to continue, Dawson, and he maintains relatively most of his position. So I guess I would say maybe a close call kind of avoided there from Malik Ray. And then this is the incident that brings out the caution here. As let's see if we can go back here to the 8 of Chase Mistretta, as that's where the incident took place. And wow, this looks like it was about 3 or 4 of them that it starts with here as they come off the corner. The 62, that's Landon Velicky. And does the 62 get loose? No, the 88, he's just got a massive run. That's Dylan Basin, and he goes to go 3 wide, and they just kind of run out of room, it looks like, Dawson. Maybe some contact between his left front and the right rear of Velicky, and then Mistretta, just kind of the innocent bystander in all of it. He's going to get collected here as he gets hooked into the outside wall. A couple are able to sneak through, and I think there might have been one more involved right there near the end.
Yeah, it was a tough break. Dylan Baston comes right through the middle and just collects Velicky. I mean, nothing either of those guys were doing wrong, I don't think. Just the problem is, again, at Talladega, if that happens, completely fine, completely good. I even think at Daytona, if you do that, honestly, probably okay. This place is so narrow, and because it's shorter, just less room for error, less margin for moves like that. And Baston miscalculates, gets into Landon Velicky, and then it's on from there. Man, that incident at the front with Malik Ray, though, so weird. I mean, Percy comes right off the wall. The leaders are coming, and he just has no idea. And Ray ends up getting turned. I'm not sure if maybe he was just off the screen. I know you guys said that you didn't see him at first, and perhaps if that was the case, maybe Percy just didn't see the 7 car, but what a tough incident for Malik Ray, who now has to repair considerable left side damage to that machine.
Yeah, I never seen it as I was calling the race there. That's why I didn't put any attention on it. So a little bit of a Houdini act there. And then just the 88 had such a big run there, tries to pull the old Louisville slider, just doesn't have the real estate to pull it off. And because of it, another big incident pops off there. You can see this car scatter once they make the initial contact. And, you know, to your point about how slick this racetrack is, in fact, to go back to another perspective here on the racetrack, you can see just how close that got for Larry McDonald as he threaded the needle. In fact, that might be the don't stain your ride, use Tide moment of the race. Courtesy of Larry McDonald out there, is that was a near miss of epic proportions. As now we go back to the live side of things. We re-rack, restack behind that iRacing.com pace car. And guys, it seems like the Waffle House dumped all their bacon grease on the racetrack on the overnight hours before we got ready to rock and roll here tonight, because these guys are holding on for dear life.
They certainly are, and it's just going to continue to be that way. In fact, I bet you a lot of drivers were probably relieved to see that caution, but don't forget, only 2 sets of tires, and I think that includes, well, I don't know if that includes one they start on or not. If they've got 2 in the pits, you got to wait till probably at least a third of the way through this race before you use one of them. If they only had 2 in total, man, you can't be taking that second one till you get at least halfway, which, of course, we've passed now as the green flag is back in the air for the 12 of Ethan Eckert and the 6 of Cody Nagels, 2 winning drivers that have both found victory lane here before in PGR. And now they're looking to see if they can do it again here tonight as they work their way down through turns 1 and 2, still getting up to speed. Takes these cars probably about 3/4 of a lap to get up to full pace. Daniel Eberhardt, though, going to help that process here as they race down the back as he'll push Eckert. Eckert's now going to jump up in front of Nagels, and now maybe things start to look a little bit more like what we're used to seeing. Lane controlling really hasn't even been a factor here yet tonight, Dawson, because nobody's had a chance to even try it.
The outside's going to lift out of it, though. As quickly as that happened, they're going to back off and think a little better of it here. Let's see if those 2-3 guys up on the outside. Oh, man, Kyler Wynn through the middle. Kyler Wynn, a split right through the center of those 2 cars. And, man, again, Kyler Wynn not making any friends tonight at Atlanta either, as the 82 goes straight through the middle and regains 4th position and relegates. Oh, caution, wrecking out back.
And not sure exactly where the trouble's at just yet, so we're looking for, you see some smoke on the apron. I think a couple of drivers are trying to get it back rolling here. Was Christopher Carter one of them? No, he wasn't. J.R. Miller was, though, in the 78, and boy, rear bumper of that race car is ripped off. And so this is another car with heavy damage here. Now 51 of 90 laps complete. That sees your 3rd caution of the night. And, you know, I hate to say it, but I have a feeling this trend might start to pick up, because as each lap goes by, the conditions aren't going to get any better, but the racing's going to have to get more aggressive because that pay window gets closer and closer. But here we go. They're going to go 3 wide down into turn number 1, and something's got to give here. And let's see where it does. Oh, the 78 of J.R. Miller ships it down in there and just can't quite wrap that red and orange line that, you know, normally you can do here in the car or the trucks when it's a cooler track temp, but when it's hot, you can't just put as much wheel into the corner. He was trying to chase it up a little bit, and unfortunately, he just really didn't have the room to do that right now with the 18 sitting on his outside. And once that contact was made, he gets down on the apron here. By the way, that was David Flanagan that he made contact with it. And, oh, man, Garrett Maines, bad night gone worse as he wasn't able to get checked up, got into the rear of J.R. Miller, and makes our 3rd caution a 2-car incident.
And you know the saying, cautions always breed cautions, and that's clearly what's happening on the racetrack here at Atlanta as these raging track temperatures combined with money on the line tonight are bringing out all of the high-flying, high-octane racing action as we see that once again, big-time contact. Go back to the instant replay, reload it again for you here. Watch the 78 Miller time as he gets set. He goes back up the racetrack, almost has it saved, and then the 7 comes in there and administers another shot, and that's going to finish him off in that 78 Dark Horse Ford Mustang. The back of that car absolutely destroyed. Let's get another look at it from the digger cam out there on the racetrack. Give you that up close and personal bird's eye view of the carnage and chaos.
And it looked like Larry McDonald, who, if you remember, we were talking about, had a close call with that last wreck. Boy, he had a really close one in this one as well. I'm not sure if he ended up hitting anything, but he certainly got sideways here. Man, you see he had to lock down the brakes and go into a four-wheel slide just to not run into the back. I believe that was the 48, and then right here he's going to be able to sneak his way around the outside and be able to continue on. So another close call for Larry McDonald, but back up front, Daniel Eberhardt still being scored as your leader. Dylan Jones currently sits in second. Matthew Baker back in third. John Mullahan from McCullough Motorsports. How about this? He's up 33 positions from where he started this race at here tonight. The Canadian driver Kyler Wynn, he currently rounds out your top 5. And let's see, do we get the one to go signal this time? Yes, we do. So I was going to take a quick break, but we'll go ahead and hold off for now. And 53 laps complete. So it's going to be about 37 once we take the green here. Laps to go, that is. And I mean, Dawson, 80% fuel in these cars, that's pretty close, but I believe they're going to be able to make it the rest of the way. It's going to be close.
Yeah, it's going to be razor thin in this car. That's about as far as you can make it. I don't even know if you can go 37 laps on one tank of fuel with 80%. That's going to be basically impossible. So if you save enough, I mean, the way we've been seeing the racing going, these guys lifting out of the throttle, running, half a second, 3/4 of a second slower than a normal lap, you save a lot of fuel doing that too. You save tire and you save gas. So maybe some guys are going to try to really gamble, really hyper save here and just manage their pace, and maybe they try to gamble. I mean, hey, it's worth a shot if it gets you towards the front, if it gets you into the chance for a PGR win.
Yes, sometimes you got to go full-blown high-stakes Las Vegas mode at these types of racetracks if you want to win big when it matters. And I totally expect one of these drivers to pull off something along those lines here tonight, as it's been absolutely epic since the drop of the green flag. Want to thank everyone for joining us at home, bringing us into your homes, onto your phones for some great high-octane racing action as at iRacing.com pace car pulls off. Ford on Ford going to lead the front row back to green flag action as the 21 approaches the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air. He's going to grab a gear and send it one more time. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's get back to some green flag action here at Atlanta.
And so far, so good as they start to single file out to the inside line as they work their way into turn number 1. Daniel Eberhardt currently leading the charge as John Mullahan finds himself stuck on the outside. Oh, man, he's trying to bully Baker down a little bit there, but he's not going to be able to do it as Eckert will jump back up to the top of the racetrack. And I think what the other interesting thing is that all these drivers are still trying to figure out here tonight is, I mean, Dawson, we've been in these cars before here. We know that generally that outside line is the place to be on these restarts. Usually carries more momentum until the tires start to wear out, but that hasn't been the case here tonight, at least not yet with this hot track temp. So if you're a guy like John Mullahan, Kyler Wynn, how much you willing to risk? Oh, man, the 2, he is really out of shape. John Mullahan tries to hold on to it there through 1 and 2.
Yeah, that 2 is rolling through like a twisted sister. He was so far out of shape. But, hey, that's not going to slow him down. He's keeping his foot pegged right to the floorboard. In fact, he's going to send it now to the bottom side of the racetrack as we're really starting to get racy here up front. That 2 machine now, he's going to get big-time help. In fact, he's going to come down to the bottom of the racetrack. It looked like he was trying to get teamed up there with perhaps the 12, or is that the 82 in the outside lane of Kyler Wynn? It is Wynn. And there they go, nose to tail, those 2 Camaros now. And just as it seemed like they were going to work together, they keep mixing, matching, dicing it up. And here we go again, another crossover move from the 5. Now Baker's going to send it in on the low line, almost side by side, door to door with the 21 of Jones. That's going to be for that second place position, while EB in the 90s still commands as we go on board now with the 5 of Baker at the start-finish line.
And it's about time Matthew Baker got up here. I was wondering where the 5 car was. He was settling around the 15th position, but now it's go time for Matthew Baker, another guy just with a cerebral instinct in this car. He loves the racing. He's so good on Tuesdays. He's good on Tuesdays when that series comes to Atlanta, and tonight no different so far. He's back up front. Mullahan, man, he is all over the place. He's got all his money's worth on the outside right now, but he's settled in behind Dylan Jones. Now he's got a teammate out back as well in Kenny McCullough, so some more familiarity and some more calmness here for John Mullahan after a bit of a ragged start to this next run. Oh, man, look out back. Here comes Malik Ray. He's back through the middle, and he's back up front after that issue earlier. He's inside the top 10. He may be looking for more, looking in the middle, but McCullough throws a big block down the backstretch.
Yeah, it's a veteran block, too. He's not going to let himself get pushed up unless he wants to be. But you know what's got me curious here, guys, is we talked about how close this fuel window is. Well, let's just say they have to pit. And, you know, if they do here, I wonder, or let's just say we even get a late caution. Normally, we would say at a track like this, track position's key, but man, with how bad the tire wear's been here tonight, I almost think as a driver, if you've still got a set sitting in the pits, you've already given yourself an advantage over everybody else because you almost got expected. We're going to see at least one more caution, and to have that set of stickers for late in this race, I mean, you could jump to that third lane and pretty much make everybody else look like they're sitting still.
Yeah, that's how it is and was at Darlington or at the old ATL. We're getting a big taste of that here tonight, and I think these conditions are really throwing a curveball at some of these drivers as they were coming in prepared to attack this race like a Daytona or a Talladega, and it's been anything but, and you can see it just by how they're racing out there on the racetrack. There's the 3 threading the needle, looking like the Earnhardt of old out there on the racetrack. Great looking paint scheme on that machine. Working the high side of the racetrack. There's the 7 as well. There's Ray trying to make his way back to the front on that recovery drive. And you can see these cars starting to get loose on the top side of the racetrack. And the more and more laps we continue to turn, the more those tires are going to continue to fall off. Some of these drivers probably hoping they can come down pit road sooner than later as EB continues to lead on the high side here at Atlanta.
It's definitely more racy now. You can tell these guys have picked up the intensity just a little bit, and with still 30 laps to go, I'm not sure I agree considering how much tire wear we've seen tonight. Oh man, Matthew Baker washes a full lane and a half on the bottom of turn 3. Makes it work. Malik Ray, he's trying to force Kenny McCullough into a bad spot here. Put him in the middle, he will. Ray splits. He goes outside of the 3. He'll get outside of the 2 of Mullihan. Malik Ray is on the drive of his life right now, trying to get back to the front of the field. He's got several guys 3 wide, but how much stress is he putting on those Goodyears aboard that race car? As he gets in behind John Mullihan, he's still 3 wide. I just wonder, is this aggression this early worth it? Baker to the bottom. He's got a huge run here in the 3. He'll inherit the lead with the help of Ethan Eckert. Eckert, another guy that loves this racetrack, but now he's going to get in a bad spot, maybe on the bumper of Kyler Wynn.
Well, what saved him right there was the fact that you cannot go below that double yellow, double red line, whatever you want to call it, that you see here, or else you will get a penalty. So Eckert kind of got saved by the boundaries of the racetrack there, but we keep seeing Malik try to get this third lane working, and it looks like Navarro's kind of taking a couple of peaks with him, but I just don't know how valuable that lane's going to be and how much momentum you can make, especially with how much you wash up in the turns. But Malik continues to get to the front here, and at some point, I think everybody else says, hey, if he can do it, why not give it a shot? So right now, they're still all trying to get grouped back up. The amount of separation we have and how small this lead pack has kind of become in hindsight is kind of insane here when you consider what we started with, but that's kind of the result of tire wear, and then some of the wrecks that we've already had here tonight is the leaders go all the way back to, looks like 20th position, 21st, 22nd, right around David Flanagan, and then Mistretta, the first driver off the pace, who currently sits in 22nd. So, top 6 payout here tonight, and you're already pretty much eliminated half of the field, certainly helping the odds for these drivers up front. But if we get to a pit stop, Dawson, we don't have the rule like they do in real life, where these guys have to bail off by turn 3 and ride the apron around. And I guess this is a question for you or Matt, and that's a sense of, as a driver, what would you do here? Do you try to bail out of this pack and get down? As Eberhard, he's going to go wide. We'll hold that thought now, as they're going to be 3 wide for the lead.
3 wide for the lead here at Atlanta. No tires, no problem. We're going to make it happen here tonight. Is the crowd on their feet as these drivers looking like the Blue Angels coming out of the corner at the start-finish line. The Bakers still cooking out here at the front, but the 12 of Jones or Ethan Eckert. Here comes the mean machine. The 3 off the racetrack down to the flats. He's going to send it up onto the racetrack. Avoid any other contact out there. What a job by the other drivers on the racetrack. Is usually that is certain death when a car shoots back up into competition after being yeeted off the racing surface. We stay green. What a big-time moment for Kenneth in the 3.
What a big move up front by Ethan Eckert. He just split Matthew Baker on the backstretch right there to go all the way to the race lead. Baker, maybe not too appreciative, giving a little bit of a nudge, saying, hey, I didn't really like that move that much. But now we'll settle into his role as lead pusher on the bottom. It's definitely more racy now. Inside Eckert, outside Wynn. Pushers are Baker and Jones, and really for one of the first times tonight. Yeah, he's been around 10th, but has not been this close to the lead. Guess who? Nightmare Esports driver Cody Nagels enters the fray for one of the first times tonight. And he's running behind his former teammate at NBG, Matthew Baker. The Bank of Missouri Chevrolet starting to make some hay, but Ray Navarro also still hanging around. They're both definitely ones to watch, along with D3, Daniel Eberhardt.
Oh, man, Baker and Mullahan, they are getting so close to getting into each other here. The fire, oh, there he goes, the two. Oh, my goodness. They keep banging doors here. This can only work for so long. Navarro's looking to go 3 wide up top. He wants to get away from these two. But, man, Dawson, you said it that last lap. I think Matthew Baker may not have been too pleased with Ethan Eckert. But, man, right now, I think the car that's got me the most concerned is that bright pink and white Kanawha Valley Chevy Camaro of John Mullahan. He is getting all over the place. And even Matthew Baker into the corners has been washing up just a little bit. And, I mean, they can only run 3 wide for so long before something's going to have to give here.
You talk about Baker being that. He's better than a Keebler Elf that got demoted to Fudge Packer with that move. But, hey, that's all part of this byproduct of this hybrid plate racing here at Atlanta. And how about the mean machine, Ethan Eckert, currently in that 4th place position. That car really good over the long runs and continues to get better as these laps wear on. Now Kyler Wynn at the front in that 82 machine looking to maintain the lead. But here comes a big-time challenge once again as we go on board as Mullen gets sheeted up towards the nosebleeds. You can see he gets out of the draft, out of that line. He's going to fall back here behind DB. Looks like he's going to slot in probably that 8th place position.
Yeah, these guys are all over the place. Every single car in this lead draft, all 12, 14, 15 of them back to around Kevin Freese and Brian Hennings are all over the racetrack right now. Just finding what grip they can, and it's not much. Dylan Jones is able to really surge to the outside. Dylan Jones, how about this late in the going? 20 to go, and he gets to the point for the first time. Behind him, though, Navarro, Ray, Eberhardt, and then Mullahan. Further back, Dylan Bass and Kevin Freese. They kind of laid dormant for a while, saving some tire. They're starting to make their way forward back there around the damaged machine of Brandon Matz. By the way, Brandon Matz, look at that car, the 81. Very mangled front end. He runs 11th on the speedway right now, so good resilience from that car to stay in it. But these guys up front, they're asking for it right now because all these cars look basically undrivable at points when they go off in the corner.
And it's just getting worse, right? I mean, 19 laps to go. It's going to be 18 when we cross the line. Man, Navarro, he got into the door. Eckert right there. But I think by the time we get to the end of this race, of course, going to be, at the end of the tire run, the end of the fuel run even. So if we can make it that far, I mean, I think the winner of this race is whoever finds himself out in front. And that's if we make it to the end, because at this rate, I just don't see any way that happens. I mean, they just continue to get into each other. They're dooring in the corners. You've got guys getting loose trying to push on the straightaways, and that hasn't even been with lap cars getting thrown into the mix yet, and they're getting ready to have a couple come up here. The 27th and 29th position cars, which you see exiting 2 and about halfway down the backstretch here. We'll see what Jones decides to do, but, he's in front. He's got the cleanest air, and as we ride on board with him here into turn 3, you can see that even as he tries to drive that car down into the corner, that back end is not secure, Dawson. I mean, these things are brutal. You can hear just how much you had to get out of the throttle, and, I mean, Matt, if you're Dylan right now, I think you got to do everything you can to hold on to this lead, because if you lose it, I don't know if you're getting it back at this rate.
And that's exactly what he is doing. He is fighting, driving for his life right now in that 21 machine. You can see him sawing up on the wheel like he's piloting an 87 out there on the racetrack, but it's not. It's the current Xfinity machine out there on the racetrack. Navarro stalking his prey in that 44 machine, working just off the back bumper of that Camaro. And like the marketing slogan of Toyota, TRD, let's go places. Navarro's taking that thing to the point. But he's got one car left to battle with, and that's going to be the 21 as he puts the bumper to him. Bump drafting going on here at ATL. And I guess my point that being is we would expect to see that all race long, but we haven't because of these track temperatures. Now that's another variable we have to take into the equation, guys. Everything, all the ingredients are there. We are getting ready to getting ready to see the bomb go off here one more time, potentially, before this is all said and done.
Oh, sketchy corner exit here with that lap car on the outside, but everybody gets it held up. Oh, my goodness. Malik Ray came off turn 4 and almost slid all the way underneath the apron, got 2 tires on the apron, held on to it. All these cars, again, completely undrivable. If you saw Navarro last time by, holy cow, he was sideways going into 3 a lap ago. Now gets it right back in the back bumper, car on the wall, a little bit further back. No harm, no foul. Kyler Wynn kind of just really at a loss here. There's nothing he can do. He's doing everything he can on the bottom of the racetrack, but just not much you can do down there. You got some help, but that's about it. Man, Navarro, oh, the pushing is getting really heavy now with 14 to go.
Yeah, they've got him pinned. I mean, for Kyler Wynn, if he goes into the corner any more aggressive, he's going to wash up into that outside line, and I think guys are realizing that, and that's why they're trying to bail to the top, because they know at the end of this race, they can pinch that bottom lane down, make them either bail or, well, I hate to say it, but cause the wreck is now you see Nagels, he'll slide up, but Jones and Navarro, they're going to have to drop low here into turn 3 to get around the 48. Sedarius Percy, it allows Eberhard to stay high. Kyler Wynn will pull back just a little bit now as they exit turn number 4. The 12 is going to have to start getting more aggressive with the pushes, but the bottom lane, it's falling apart here with 13 laps to go. Can they make it all the way? I'm thinking that they're going to go on fuel and tires with the aggression that we're seeing right now. The question is, can they all hold on to him for the rest of the race?
Well, that is the question of the hour. Can these drivers continue to put on a show of a lifetime here in prime time tonight at Atlanta, as some of the best in the iRacing servers do battle tonight here on PGR eSports? Go on board now with Jared Hayes in that 11th place position, just outside the top 10, and the 18 is doing the slide for life. He's got all 4 tires locked down. That should throw a caution out there on the racetrack, and it does. And gentlemen, take everything we were just talking about, crumple it up, throw it out the window. This is going to reset the entire field. This changes everything. It's about to get wild here for a thrilling finish as lap 78 currently gets written in the history books.
You can see that one coming, but I think that we thought it was going to happen up front. Instead, it happens a bit further back. We'll go back and take a replay of it here. First look is going to be at the chopper cam, and I don't know if this starts where Osronoff was or if it starts a bit ahead here. Oh my goodness, this must have started way further up than the 89, because you saw almost 3 cars spin around simultaneously, and that's the 48 of Sedarius Percy that appears to be the first car to go around. Now the leaders had just went around him here, I believe the last lap or so, and for the 48 here, let's see. They work down the back, no harm, no foul here. He's going to drop low, and then something goes wrong here as he gets into the corner. At 48, he's on the inside. Oh, he's just washing up. Car's washing way up the racetrack, and I mean, oh, it's a big hit for the 48. Dead right into the fence, as I'm assuming him and Mullahan must get together here. Yeah, it looks like the 48, he's just washing up. I mean, there's nothing he can do. He tries to get in the corner, but unfortunately he just gets in too deep. Mullahan's not expecting it, and you see the fire out of the pipes. He was trying to get out of it, but I mean, this tire, this track right now, just no way for Sedarius Percy. And yeah, that's a big hit for Percy. And then at that point, this became the mad scramble for everybody else trying to miss that 48, and you can see just how many of them got on the brakes, and it didn't even matter. It seemed like they couldn't even scrub off speed. It's like ice out here right now with how hot the track temp is. And I mean, for JR Miller, Trevor Osronoff, 2 cars that realistically they were behind the wreck, but unfortunately they end up in it as a result.
Certainly do as a result. In fact, when that wreck kicked off, it almost looked like tandem drafting or drifting out there on the racetrack. And Percy, I mean, he just cannot catch a break tonight. It's like he's got a dark voodoo cloud over that 48 machine. Anytime something kicks off on the racetrack, whether it's his fault or not of his own doing, that 48 has been featured in just about every incident tonight. Certainly not the end result he was looking for. As we take a look at our most recent caution for incident on the racetrack, this unfolding lap 78. As we go back now to the live side of things here, Kenneth McCall Jr. leading here, up 38 positions from where he started. Matthew Baker there at the 5 ride pulls off a great save.
I was just going to say the top 6 cars on the speedway, I believe, top 5, excuse me, not top 6, stayed out. So if you thought it was interesting before, just wait, because the top 5 cars on the speedway are on old tires with 9 laps to go, and in front of Dylan Jones and company, who I believe all came and took 4. They're going to be on fresh Goodyear rubber. The guys in front of them, not so much. But for some of these guys, Kenny McCullough, Jared Haynes, Dylan Basson, Brian Hennings, and Brandon Matz all looking for their first PGR win. A massive amount of stakes on this last 9 laps, so I don't blame them for the call at all.
And I mean, personally, I don't see any way that we make it 10 laps, especially, and I agree. I mean, you got to stay out, right? You got to go for it. It's a top 6 payout. if you don't have the lead right now with how tricky it is to get it, you're probably not going to get it. So I agree with the call, but in reality, we kind of know how it's probably going to end here is you're going to have guys on fresher stuff pushing for all it's worth while the guys up front are just trying to hold on, and I don't think it's going to mix too well, so I'd be amazed if we make it, but we're going to find out anyway. All right, here we go. Field back in the hands of the veteran Ken McCullough Jr. as he will take the green flag. 9 laps to go at Atlanta. It's a great restart for the 3. Brandon Matz, on the other hand, he does not get going. That allows 2 more on the bottom. Dylan Basin to push Jarrett Haynes clear, and now the 81's going to get split. All right, hold your breath here. 3 wide as Dylan Jones and Navarro try to sneak around the outside.
wide coming off the corner. Here we go. One green flag back in the air at Atlanta. And here we go, using the middle to our advantage. We're using the black hole to gain positions on the racetrack. The 74 hits the drive up to the wall. There it goes. Big time caution out of the racetrack. Once again, is that 74 machine helicopters back through the field. And gentlemen, you're not wrong. That didn't take long at all, as we basically got back going before the next incident popped off. Going to start here, all part of being 3 wide here. The 74 machine is going to get sent down below that that red line out of bounds. And
he got hit.
Comes back up on the racetrack. Yep.
He got hit from Kyler Wynn. That's what sparked it here is, I mean, yeah, Kyler, in Kyler's case, Kyler's not expecting him to drop down. And at the last second, Hennings tries to take the inside. He's clear, but the problem is, like I said, Kyler's just not expecting it, gives him a shot, and that sends him into the 5. And from there, it's just everybody trying to hold on, and they just can't do it.
He's going to be picking his teeth up out of the cockpit of that race car for a week. That 74 hit so hard.
It was a massive impact indeed, and that's going to end Brian Hennings' night. Man, what a good run he was having, too, right here at the end. This boy, you said it, Matt, just rips that race car apart. And then John Ellis Jr. looks like he may have made some contact. Kevin Freeze, the 25, he didn't quite have anywhere to go. Man, even, I think that was a 23, Chris Walker. And then Larry McDonald, boy, what is that, his 3rd wreck here tonight? That's been a close call, and yet he's found a way to miss it. Man, what a job for Larry McDonald. But let's hop onto the onboard view here for Brian Hennings. They almost held on to this, but as soon as he got into the 12, and the 12 started coming back down the racetrack here, you knew what was going to be the end result, and watch this. Bam, big hit straight into the safer barrier. Pirouettes the car around a few times, and I'll tell you what, I think we're lucky this didn't collect anybody else.
I'm shocked not more drivers were involved in this one, especially given, you know, the intensity coming down here to the end. Everyone going as hard as they possibly can. Great situational awareness being displayed by the talent in this field. That is undeniable. There should have been probably 2 to 3 times more cars involved in that incident, but not the case here, as we're back under caution. Currently working lap 84 of the scheduled 90 laps here from Atlanta. And boys, if it hasn't been rowdy enough, we're about to turn it up another notch, because when we go back green flag racing, it's going to be old school Friday night shootout style. And then don't forget, we also have that joker up the sleeve, overtime, if we need to go all the way. And I think there's a good chance we're probably going to do it.
Yeah, pull the belts tight real quick before we go back green, because this is going to be an interesting restart. You saw just how much speed that the cars that took tires had compared to the cars that did not. 2 of them in the outside, 1 of them in the inside. So the obstacle here is the same for all those cars that came and took tires. That's from Dylan Jones on back, with the exception of Jared Haynes. Haynes, Basin, McCullough on old tires. Everybody behind them is rearing to go on new tires. And Kenny McCullough, this is a big race for him. He wants PGR victory number 1. So too does Dylan Basin. They're not going to give this one up easy. McCullough especially, he's been waiting on this opportunity for a very long time and doesn't want to let it slip away once again.
For Jared Haynes here, talking about Ken McCullough Jr. being in a great position to get his first win. Well, how about Jared Haynes? The driver out of Huntsville, you see him on the onboard camera right there. That's one of the OSM drivers, and he's going to be lined up here in one of the front 2 rows. Opportunity here for the 7. In fact, more than just him, a couple guys here in the top 10 that are looking for win number 1 that find themselves currently inside the top 5. And I mean, for Ken McCullough Jr., I know we're not supposed to have favorites, and he certainly is a teammate, but the reason that I'm rooting for him even more here tonight is just the fact that, I mean, he's almost due for one. A lot of bad luck, and if he can get a good restart here, you never know. Maybe the 3's got a chance to get that first victory at a track that we don't usually go to. Green flag is back in the air. 5 laps to go. It's a great restart from Dylan Basin. Not so much from Ken McCullough Jr. He'll hold even with Jared Haynes, but Dylan Basin will get clear, and he'll get a little bit more as he jumps down to the inside as they race off into turn number 1. And man, Ken McCullough Jr., he's got a big run, but he's not going to take it. Right now, the 3 content to sit in second. Jones going to look to the high side, and now they'll start to fan out 2x2 down the backstretch.
2x2 down the backstretch. The Baja Blast machine is blazing, but that throwback number 3, the Intimidator from back in the day, is looking to strike fear into the driver of that Mountain Dew machine. He's going to turn it down low, eating hard on the inside, but he doesn't have any help, but help is coming. And we got big-time problems once again as we're going to go nuclear here in Atlanta. Another big-time shot is the wreck. We thought it was over, as was it? The 59 comes in there and performs a wing splitter on the 55. Big time contact there as we're going to have to throw the caution flag once again here. Overtime certainly looming in the distant future as we're not going to be able to settle this one with the regular amount of scheduled laps here as we go back to the PGR instant replay and see how this all unfolded.
And it looks like Chris Walker there as they come off turn 4. They're approaching the 7 of Jared Haynes, who had a moment into 3, lost all his momentum through 3 and 4, and then they were going to be 4 wide. I'm thinking Chris Walker maybe started to kind of react to that as he just starts to come down. Maybe a little bit of netcode between him and Christopher Carter causes that contact that collects the 18 there of David Flanagan. Now, I think for Flanagan here, he's just going to go for a slide through the grass. As long as he doesn't hit anything here, does he straighten it out? He's trying. Oh, man, yes, he does. What a save right there at the last second for David Flanagan to keep it off that inside concrete pit wall. Unfortunately, though, the trade-off there was that the wreck happened further up front, and for Mike Davenport, wasn't such a good save here because, well, not a save, but not such a good trade-off because he gets collected here as, watch this contact. As they make it, it's going to get the 23 kind of in an odd spot, and I think Davenport, I wonder what happened here is if he saw the 26 coming down and tried to kind of go up to react to that. I'm not sure, but you can see now they're just going to get squeezed together, and that's a big hit for Haynes, Walker, and Davenport, who all get collected. Joshua McCullough makes heavy contact. He's going to tag the wall up there again, I believe, and then Mark Vondell right there at the end, just kind of insult to injury is unfortunately he wasn't quite able to get that car checked up.
You know, it's all a byproduct. It seems to stem from this 3-wide racing, which is typically not a problem under normal circumstances. Today, this track, just wow, watching that wreck each and every time, it still rattles you, even up here in the broadcast booth. This track just isn't like something we've seen, you know, potentially ever or in a very long time. And it's completely changed the dynamic and the characteristics of how these cars handle and perform out here on the racetrack. You know, you just can't send it 3 wide, even as good as these guys are. That track is so slick right now that all that turbulent air, these cars are going to jostle around a little bit, and that seems to be the catalyst each and every, not every time, but certainly the past few times. This has been really racy up front, where we set the big one off and multiple casualties. And as a result, as we're under caution once again, going to get 3 attempts at a green-white checkered here. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Your bet's as good as mine.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. There are so many guys up here that have won in this series before that know how to win these races. I mean, Navarro, Jones, Kyler Wynn. Ethan Eckert's a PGR winner and is also very good at Atlanta. He runs 6th. Matthew Baker, one of the best in this car. Cody Nagels, you could say the same thing. Daniel Eberhard, Kevin Free, Sean Ellis, Malik Ray. It's a who's who of PGR Xfinity Series racing right now at the front of the field, and all led by Bassin. Kenny McCullough is still here. They're X Factors. They're guys that want to win more than maybe any of these guys around them. Everybody now mostly on fresh tires besides the 88 and the 3. With 2 laps to go, the urgency's up. You got to throw the desperation move. I wonder who's going to be the first. My bet would be on either the man in 4th, Kenny McCullough, or the man in 6th, Ethan Eckert.
I think Ken's kind of in the opposite boat here. I think that at this rate, with the tires he's got, I think he's content to stay where he is. He knows he's in a good payout position. He wants that win, I agree, but, you know, just with how the handling's going to be on that race car, I just don't think he's going to have it, but it'll be interesting to see here as this looks like it will be our first overtime attempt Remind you the rules real quick. We do have to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. If not, we'll rack them up, try it again. We got 3 total attempts, and for Dylan Basin, he could certainly find victory lane here tonight. That's one of the cars that doesn't have any teammates, but I mean, if you're looking at a track to win without teammates, this has certainly been the one here tonight, as handling's been the key, and if handling's your friend, then you can potentially find yourself in victory lane here in just about 2 laps time, and just about 3 miles from when we take the green. Here we go, back into the Geico restart zone. 2-lap shootout to decide it here at Atlanta. Green flag is back in the air for Dylan Basin. He gets another good jump, but it looks like this time Jones is going to match him a little bit better. That inside's got some opportunity. Nobody takes it yet. They're off into turn 1.
Big time move there from the 44. Navarro already up 30 positions, and he is literally attached to the back of the 33 of Basin. Navarro has much faster tires, as he was last down on lap 79 compared to Basin on 46. The 44 is going to take it up to the high side of the racetrack. He's got Daniel C. Jones with him in tow. We're going to get skinny here off the corner as we are beating and banging, leaning on each other, as we're going to get the white flag, 1 to go.
Oh man, topside Ethan Ecker wrecking out back. It's Kevin Freese, but Ecker with Cody Nagels. Ethan Ecker, can he make the Hail Mary move work? He may just get enough of a push, but now they wreck out back again. Matthew Baker, another help for Eckert's gone. Andrew Navarro in the driver's seat in the 3.
Final time into turn 3. Who's going to get back to the checkered first? Jones gets loose. Eberhardt's going to get it to him there. 4 wide, racing out back. It could be a drag race to the finish, but now the 88 makes contact. Navarro to the line. He gets turned. Oh, man, he still holds on as Kyler Wynn hooked him into the wall coming to the checkered, but Andrew Navarro is going to win it tonight at Atlanta. Dylan Basin right now, it's showing second. Boy, I thought Kyler had it at the end there. It's showing 200ths of a second back. Excuse me, 2,000ths of a second back. Nope, that is hundredths for both of those drivers. We got to back this up and look at this finish again. Holy moly. Boy, that was close. Dylan Basin looked like he might have had a chance, but certainly didn't pan out that way, as he actually got back out in front momentarily. But then at the line, man, Navarro just barely holds on. And yeah, that finish was as close for second as it read, as we're going to go frame by frame for this and look at it right at the line. Boy, I'll tell you what, guys, another, I don't know, maybe 20 feet there. And I think that maybe Dylan Basin or Kyler Wynn wins this race.
Absolutely, 100%. An epic textbook finish here at Atlanta. I mean, why would you think anything different with this group of drivers here in the field tonight? Andrew Navarro holding on as he got up close and personal and got, set basically at the start-finish line. And you're right. I think if that was, 20, 30 yards, down the racetrack, we could have had a different outcome here. Is 200ths of a second for the 44 machine. So we go ahead and cue that playback one more time. Just an incredible finish here from Atlanta. Some of the wildest driving I have seen at this racetrack. And that track temperature still creating, I think, just a bunch of chaos in uncharted territory for these drivers to be in, that created such a thrilling finish here for this one.
And I'll tell you what, it seems like Atlanta never disappoints. The racing tonight overall was great, but the finish was what made it there. And man, Navarro holding on. That was impressive right there, especially after the contact between him and Wynn. And Basin, sure enough, he did sneak out that second spot, so that's a good finish for him as well. And it would have been interesting to see if he would have had help on the bottom there coming to the stripes, who would have got it. But nonetheless, let's take a look at your finishing results here tonight. Navarro is your race winner. Dylan Basin brings home a second. And rounding out the podium here tonight is Kyler Wynn, the 2024 PGR 500 champ, finds a money spot yet again. Daniel Eberhardt finishes in fourth. Ethan Eckert back in fifth. And then you've got Chase Mistretta sixth, Landon Velicky in seventh, Garrett Maines in eighth with Dylan Jones ninth, and Brandon Matz rounding out your top 10.
11th belongs to Christopher E. Carter. Coming in 12th is going to be Trevor Arzawath. 13th belongs to Cody Neagle. 14th, excuse me, as my graphics reloads here. 14th, that's going to be David Flanagan. Dalton Martin comes home inside the top 15 in that 15th place position. 16th, Mika Ray. 17th, that's going to be Joshua McCall. 18th, Matthew G. Baker, who put on one heck of a performance out there tonight. Then at 19th, Kenneth McCullough. And rounding out the top 20, one lap down, that's going to be the 38 of John Ellis Jr.
21st, Kevin Freese tonight in the 25, Austin Floyd in 22nd, Chris Walker 23rd, Mike Davenport in 24th, and Jared Haynes in the 25th position. Brian Hennings finishes 26th, Mark Vondell back in 27th, J.R. Miller 28th, Larry McDonald 29th, and John Mullahan rounding out the top 30.
Sedarius Percy finishes 31st, Tucker McLennan 32nd, Jonathan Herbert in 33rd, Joe Herta in 34th, Ryan Bass 35th, David Sheets 36th, Nash Brambilla in 37th, and Steven Scott Jr. rounds out the field tonight in 38th, Jeff Merck 39th, and Matt Lee, he finishes in 40th. All right, we're going to go bring your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Atlanta. All right, going to start first with your third place finisher here tonight. Well, I thought we were. Don't see Kyler in here yet, so I guess we'll go ahead and instead start with your second place finisher here tonight, and that is Dylan Basin. Matt Mettler stands by with him.
Hello.
Dylan, Matt up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy there, boss.
Yes, I do.
Dylan, you come home with a second place finish here. Walk me through this race this evening. The stage was set, the track temp cranked up through the roof. It seemed to throw a completely new set of variables at you guys. How are you able to adapt and overcome and come home with such a strong performance here in Atlanta?
Well, I accidentally screwed up and took my tires on lap 22, and I ran those for the rest of the race. Then I accidentally caused a wreck, just a little misjudgment, trying to go to the field. I mean, the runs before that, like, we literally were just running half throttle around the whole track. And we were saving a bunch of fuel and tires, so it didn't really wear out too bad. But on that final restart, you know, you're on 70 lap full of tires that you spun out on. It's not the funnest.
It's actually quite impressive. You were out there with those good years.
I was fighting my demons going through 3 and 4 that final lap.
I couldn't agree with you more there. I mean, how are you able to maintain control of that race car given the conditions out there? I mean, for that amount of time with tires that were basically holding on for dear life at that point in time.
Well, I mean, the runs where I was on them, I tried my best to save them knowing I had to. So I ran like in the back of the pack. And towards the end, it literally was just putting your nuts in the dash and open to 6. They cooled down a lot over the 3 O's we had towards the end. So that helped. If I could have gone full throttle still in 3 and 4, I probably could have won that, but I had to lift a little bit, and you can see how I lost a 17,000th of a second. So if I didn't have to lift, it could have been the difference I needed to win. But, you know, we still take second. I can't complain. Finishing in the money is always the goal in these, and I'm glad I just didn't get junked or junk myself at the end.
Hey, put a brilliant driving performance together here at Atlanta in that 33 machine. Before we cut you loose, is there anyone you want to thank who helps you get it done on the 33?
Well, I thank my spotter for that race, Storm Patterson, and thank you guys for putting on the race and the broadcast.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. He survives the carnage, the chaos on the racetrack, goes 70 laps on his last set of tires to come home with a second place finish. That is the driver of the 33, Dylan Basin. Send it back up top to you, Austin.
Yeah, now that's going to actually bring us to your third place finisher, Kyler Wynn, who it looks like has indeed made it into the waiting room now. He stands by with Dawson Wise.
Hey, Kyler, it's the boys up in the booth. You get a copy?
Yeah.
Well, interesting finish there. An interesting race. I mean, one of the more wild races we've seen in terms of the strategy you guys had to pull. So, you know, coming into it, you know, you got on the racetrack, you ran the first couple laps. After you realized that the tires were going to be how they were, what was the game plan for you tonight, and how did it bring you to a second place finish?
Saving my cow. That whole race was just tire saving for the first 70 or so laps. We got a yellow at the end there and came down and took them. The last 20 laps of that run were horrible. Was horrible. I thought I was going to crash every lap. Yeah, it's an interesting combo. It's a different type of racing. Like a hybrid between your typical super speed racing and actual flat map racing.
Well, absolutely. We saw tires become a factor all night. And at the finish, you know, kind of ended up where Dylan had a little bit older tires, you and Navarro on a little bit newer tires. Coming to the finish, unfortunately, the third car in an epic 3-wide finish, but either way, a third place run for you. So, is there anything you could have done differently there on 4, or was it just kind of how the chips fell when he came to the start finish line?
I was trying to get to the outside of Navarro, but he wasn't having it. It was either, and I also wasn't going to get put in the wall, so I just kept my car in a position where I wouldn't get put in the wall, and glad Navarro still won. I wasn't trying to turn him. I was trying to get to his outside. But no, not really. I was kind of stuck on the bottom there behind Basin. All I could do was help him. I left him a lot of room in the corners because I know he was on old tires and got really loose. I think out of 2 there on the last lap. So I'm just glad, I'm just glad Basin was able to hold on to it. That's the only reason why I was in that spot.
Well, a great spot for you tonight. A third place finish, a nice payout, and surviving the conditions here tonight in Atlanta. So before we let you go and celebrate and enjoy this payout just a little bit, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just factory setups on the car. They've been a long supporter. Great organization.
All right. Thanks for talking to us.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, now that will bring us to your race winner here tonight, Andrew Navarro. Andrew, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yep.
Well, you find victory lane here tonight, and boy, first question is, what was going through your mind coming to the checker? You're the kind of get the good end, of course, of the 3-wide photo finish, but man, it looked like a little bit of contact between you and Kyler coming to the checker. Did you think you had it?
I thought I lost it to Basin. I couldn't see him at the bottom of the racetrack because he was on the red line. So I thought I lost it. But it's just hard racing. I don't know what happened out of 4. It seems like everybody was just rolling with the momentum, and Kyler got me kind of off center, and I think we just got freaking stuck together. It's a shame. I think Kyler would have had second if that didn't happen. But I'll take the win. I'll take the lucky end after being in the fence twice tonight and a lot of near misses.
Yeah, a lot of near misses indeed. But I mean, overall, different style of racing. We heard some drivers that loved it, some drivers that hated it. Overall, how'd you feel about tonight? And kind of explain to everybody watching at home how different it feels from what we're used to seeing week to week.
Yeah, the high track temp basically makes it where you got to save tires, even though we're on the plate package. Well, in the Xfinity car, we don't use the plate spoilers and plate splitter, but we use the tapered spacer. So we're down on engine power, so we're kind of packed up. But it's kind of, honestly, it drives like a mile and a half when everybody's saving. I honestly find it better if you don't save. You kind of need to burn up your right front a little bit. Just different. I know a lot of people like this type of racing, especially the guys, because you could still bring in a crowd and stuff, but it just doesn't feel organic. It's not even the way that they have the track temp set up. It's just the fixed setup has extremely low left side tire pressure, so it just builds heat, and then finally it just snaps. It's not even like a driver thing. If we could change the fixed setup, I would love it, but yeah, overall, it's pretty fun.
Well, nothing else. You got to love the finish that you had here tonight. So before we let you head out to celebrate in victory lane, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Celebrity Cruises, Premier Racing Setups, Martin Sports, Adrenaline Captures, and I'm forgetting people, but you guys for broadcasting, Michael for putting on the thing, and everybody that makes PGR go around.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Well, Andrew, congrats on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, that's Andrew Navarro, your race winner here tonight. And before we officially wrap things up and head out for the night, I mean, overall, certainly a different race than we're used to seeing. But, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think it's kind of refreshing to see once in a while. I kind of feel like it separates the men from the boys. And I think it gives a lot of drivers the opportunity to know that there's still more to gain out there. And, you know, next week we head back to regular super speedway racing. But as for tonight, the drivers that cashed were the drivers that were able to make it to the end.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I'll take it a step further. The drivers that may have been on the iRacing service for just a little bit longer back, in the cars of the Gen 6 5.4, if you will, out there sliding out there on the racetrack, having to be up on the wheel, working the throttle, modulating onto that brake pedal as well at times, close quarters, a very slick racetrack. And you've seen what the impact it had out there to the competition. The best in the business, they came to the top. Andrew Navarro put on one heck of a performance out there tonight, holding on by less than 2/100ths of a second, and it made for an absolute instant classic here at this configuration. The new Atlanta, we'll call it the spicy, the spicy side of things, given the fact that track tip was so high. I absolutely had a great time up here in the booth. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Well, what a great race. Atlanta delivers. Austin, I know we've seen this combination a number of times with these guys, whether on Thursday, whether on Tuesday, and it delivers. It seems like every time there's always something different. And tonight, that track tent made these guys think. It made these guys work a little harder than maybe they're used to working, and really separated the men from the boys, as we've kind of talked about a couple times tonight. I love this racetrack. I love this combo. It makes you drive a little bit harder, and it gets your skills up a little bit, too. You learn something every time you come here, and it ends in typical Atlanta fashion these days, it seems like, with a 3-wide finish. A nice primer for the NASCAR weekend next weekend as well, as NASCAR heads back to Atlanta. This is a great way to get me in the mood for some more Atlanta racing next weekend.
Certainly is. Looking forward to that as well. All right, well, that's going to wrap things up for us tonight. Again, I want to thank you both for coming out. Matt, again, we'll be seeing him a lot more, not just on Thursdays, but throughout a couple more series as well. So good to have you, Matt. And Dawson, as always, it's been a pleasure. That's it for me, Austin Green, Dawson Wise, and Matt Mettler on PGR eSports. I hope you all enjoyed it. And until next time, have a good night.